Sup, nerd?
Migalama, and welcome back to another episode of SupCast here with me, Adam Tuna, also known as Tuna. And this time we got somebody back for our podcast. Hey, Mr. Kentrell Quack, also known as.
Hey, I'm Quack. What's
there
up?
You go.
Hey.
Dude, I missed you, man. How you
doing
been?
That intro. It's been good. It's been good. Casting Valorant, watching you pull some bows, shooting arrows.
You should join me.
Bowstring?
You should join me. Archery is it's a very fun sport. It's very zen, but you still cause like a lot of destruction. Right. So good way to like release that stress you get from work or zen from life in general, especially these days with what's happening in Europe and stuff like that. Anyhow, but we're here to talk about a film that actually came out a couple of years back before all this whole 2020 plus shit shows that we've been seeing yearly. So we're going all the way back to 2019. And there's a reason that we're talking about this. It's Joker by Todd Phillips and, of course, Mr. Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix. The reason we want to talk about this is because obviously we have seen the Batman. We did I did a podcast, a SupCast with Ewan, and unfortunately couldn't get to do it with our beloved Quack here. So Quack, before we start talking about Joker, can you give us like a quick rundown of like your thoughts about how you feel about the Batman by Matt Reeves?
I mean, we've kind of talked briefly about this. It's all right. It's not terrible by any means. I don't think. I enjoyed it. It's 3 hours long, which was something. But it's not like. Oh my god, so many people went to the bathroom during the movie. But yeah, it's not like super impactful or outstanding or anything. It's passable.
It's passable. And how much would you score it like out of 10?
A solid 6 or 7, 6.5 maybe.
Interesting, because
I like Rob.
Ewan was pretty pretty tough on it. He gave it like about 6.5, really? And I personally gave it about 7.5. And the thing about the Batman is like, the more I thought about it after watching it, it sort of like kind of like brings down the score for me. I started finding like stuff that I did not like, that did not sit well with me. And for some reason, I'm not sure if you're a fan of like, the comic books or like, films that obviously the Batman was inspired by, which is stuff like Fincher films like Seven and Zodiac. Because I kept, comparing those films with the Batman, even though I went in like cautiously optimistic because I love like Matt Reeves, like, Planet of the Apes films. And I know that the Riddler, Paul Dano, is great. At the kind of tone that they're going for is like perfect for a detective Batman film, which they managed to do. But overall, the film itself, you watch it and like, you take it as an entire film. It's just like, cool pieces, but doesn't hold up as a single entity. And that's a little segue to like what we're going to be talking about here. Basically, like, again, gushing over Joker in 2019, which is not a movie, it's a film. It's yes, I know a lot of people say like it's like Taxi Driver, which I love as well, De Niro, and like,
talking to me.
Yeah, talking to me. You're talking to me.
Well, who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
I can't do a rap with De Niro. Which, by the way, De Niro's in the film. He was great as the talk show host and Joker as well. A lot of people were like, saying like, oh, it's basically it's a Scorsese film. It's great, but overall, right? I recently, right after the Batman, after about like 2 days, I was like letting it sink in. I did the podcast. I thought, you know what? This is definitely not my favorite DC film. So I try to think of like, okay, is it The Dark Knight? The Dark Knight, I
Oh
still
my
think
God.
it's great. It's amazing. And Heath Ledger's Joker arguably is better than like, Arthur Fleck from Joker itself. But the film overall, even though I love Nolan, I love like Christian Bale, there are some plot points and plot holes. We go like, the fuck, like I just, it's not a perfect film, of course. So for me, Joker is like near perfect. I went back and I know this is like very old school of me, but I bought the Ultra HD, like this version of the film, and I watched it again on my 4K TV, which I haven't done before because I was watching it at the cinema in 2019, and I watched like a 1080 like Blu-ray stuff. Dude, that film with the sound and all that, it's magnificent.
It's artful.
It's very, yes, people might say like, yeah, like super artsy, like it's too artsy. No, it's a great film that tells a single story and it contains like, like that entity, a single entity. It works so much for like, so almost everything worked for me. Let's hear from you. How did you find when you first watched it in 2019? How did you find that?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, listeners of the SupCast, this was basically Adam just, taking off his contact lens, like spreading out all his comics, all of the movies, and Alfred, I need you to decipher this for me. Just go through everything that you have. Oh my goodness, you have become the Batman.
I have
You've become vengeance.
The detective. I am vengeance.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing. But yeah, so I guess I gotta do the same for Joker, trying to get into that headspace. I mean, it was definitely brilliant. It's incredibly different to like start things off from Heath Ledger, who is kind of the, I think, defining cinematic
Joker, like cinematic
way,
Joker. Yeah.
Different from, oh my God, blanking on his name,
Jack
but
Nicholson. Are
Jack
you talking
Nicholson,
about
thank
Jared
you.
Leto, which we don't.
No, forget about that. Jack Nicholson. I mean, yeah, you can't handle the truth. But Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, he did a lot, right, for the film. It explores the whole thing from the Joker's perspective, which is, I don't think, it's not really something that's been done before, at least in cinema, in a movie or film. Comics, sure, but not so much on in a movie.
Even comics, like you never had like a Joker story that was completely from his perspective. Like, I mean, it's obviously been inspired. I mean, the film was inspired by, classic like the what was that? Well, my mind's like blanking out. Wait, I have it here. My mind's like blanking out on this.
Yeah.
Like Killing Joke. Oh God. So
right.
Obviously the film was like inspired by The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, where that was sort of like the first time in history of the comics that they sort of like told the origin of the Joker. But it's sort of like, it's still like one of the Jokers. Now like in DC, I'm not sure if you're following, like a while back they had like the 3 Jokers like storyline. I got one of the toys there, the main one, which is the comedian. Anyhow, so we've never had a story being told from Joker's perspective, and this film is entirely from Arthur Fleck's like perspective. It's everything. I think there was a reviewer, like I think it was Jeremy Johns, or was a YouTuber, like the reviewers mentioned that they can't recall a scene like where, like, a big scene where Arthur's not involved. So almost every single scene, like the major set pieces, like it's all like he's in there.
Arthur Fleck.
Yeah. Apart from maybe like that end scene where they definitely have to kill like the Waynes again for the 37th time on screen. Like for it's
quintessential Batman.
You gotta show like that being killed. At least that they didn't do that in the Batman. They didn't show like them getting.
Oh yeah, they just, you know who Batman is. It's all right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
for the Joker, I felt like from the only two trailers that they did, the mood was there. And I have to make a shout out to Todd Phillips being like a crazy good dramatic director, because he's known for his like slapstick and those kind of like, you know, jockish humor comedies like the Hangover series. So
Wait, he did Hangover?
he is that's how he got big. That's why
What?
Bradley Cooper is like one of the producers. So Todd
And
is
he's
like
Joker.
the comedy director, right? And then
This
he
is new
did
information to
this.
me.
Oh, you didn't
I
know?
didn't know
Shit,
that.
okay.
Oh my god. Okay, wow. That's
So
one heck of it. Oh my
and
god.
you know his I'm me being like a cinematography nerd kind of a thing. His DOP director of photography, Lawrence Sher, also was shooting those kind of films. And then he made this film look freaking beautiful. Dude, I have to give it up to like the Batman. Matt Reeves and what's the DOP's name? I forgot. They made it look like really beautiful as well. The Batman got like some shots where it's just like, wow, cinematography. I have no issue. I think it's like really like 9 out of 10 kind of a thing. What's his name?
I'm looking for it. It's taking me a while.
The Batman. It's he actually he's kind of newish.
Greg Fraser.
Greg Fraser. So he helmed June as well.
Oh,
So the recent
Oh,
June, which
yeah.
I actually haven't watched it
Timothy.
yet, but yeah. So he
Rogue One too.
yeah, so to Rogue One as well, right? So cinematography, I got no issue. It's a Batman, but Joker cinematography felt more like
Next level.
yeah, it's like it also because it's like very grounded. It's a very grounded film. It's almost like poetic the way the shots are and the way Lawrence used like I think that he used a large format kind of camera as well because the shallow depth of field. Like you know that scene when Arthur was at the hospital trying to get his like the records of
Meds.
his mom and all that,
Oh,
right?
right.
He was up to that like the chain link kind of a thing. And you can see it's like his eye, only one eye was in focus, even though it's like a wider shot. That can only work on like, you know, these kind of like large format cinema cameras. But again, it's just poetic and beautiful. Got a couple of scenes. I just want to freeze frame, print it out, put it in my like living room, that kind of a thing.
Damn. Attention
Okay,
to detail.
so cinematography worked. Score. Hilder, I'm gonna butcher it there. Good daughter, yeah, Hilder won like she actually deservingly won the Oscar for best score as well with that cello driven like you know it just
Ooh.
made it again different pieces just come to this is why I love cinema because it's not just a story or acting or you know action scene.
Soundtrack.
Everything comes together and for me Joker everything worked and of course we have to mention Mr. Joaquin Phoenix and his amazing portrayal of the character and his acting which is like wow blown away especially watching it on like you know ultra HD 4K with sound. I was seriously completely blown away. Once more, I watched the entire film again. I can't get enough of it. So this has become like obviously my favorite DC movie.
Top.
Like yeah, and again, I don't know why, but I just want to talk about it. But back then, I didn't get a chance to, you know, really geek out about this with like fellow like film nerds or like my other nerds. So this is why we're doing this podcast, basically
Let's do it.
dissecting it. Go like, hey, I really love it. And for you, what else like you know stood out when you watch it? Because again, it's a film where you just wouldn't realize it going in. Only when you sat down and started watching, you're like, oh my god, what popped for you?
I mean, for me, I guess it's of course cinematography and everything. Those are the more unless you pay attention to all those things, you might not really notice it. So it's a little bit more subtle. The thing that really smacks me in the face, I guess, maybe is apart from the acting, the writing, perhaps the way they kind of conceptualize the whole thing. I mean, inspiration from The Killing Joke, perhaps, but like to tell it truly from this perspective of a guy who's kind of mentally ill, sort of, or he's got like some kind of disorder where he
Struggling, right?
can't,
He's like
yeah,
mentally
struggling, laughing. He needs meds, but like the state or whatever Gotham can't give it to him. All that stuff, and you just kind of slowly watch him evolve or transform into the Joker, and that's pretty damn impressive. Like, I think so. I caught it in the theaters, and by the end of it, on like when I got on social media and everything, and talking to friends, so many people were like actually sympathizing with the character, which, like, guys, he murdered Robert De Niro. He's still a villain, but they're all like, yeah, but I can really see where he's coming from and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, but also no, but also, that's interesting.
Like that part about killing Robert De Niro. Spoilers, guys.
Oh, come on. Everyone's watched it by now.
No. I want to like interrupt you here because I recently started watching some YouTube interviews and all that stuff, right? And Tarantino actually mentioned about that scene where Todd Phillips, in a way, like masterfully, of course, along with like Joaquin's performance, subverts, like, you kind of knew what was going to happen when he went on to that talk show at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That scene was just like super intense. It's so good. For a moment, you thought that he might just want to kill himself as well, right? But
oh yeah,
throughout that conversation between he and Robert De Niro's character, like going back and forth, you started like realizing, oh, this is gonna happen, right? But what Tarantino says, like the masterful thing that Todd Phillips did was, you're at that point where, as an audience, you want Arthur to kill like De Niro's character. By that point, if he didn't kill it, that people will be pissed off already. Where you still know, as the audience member, you're watching it, you're like, he's not supposed to kill, right? Killing is bad, but you really want him to kill. Where Robert De Niro's character, he's not even a bad guy. He's not a typical, the rich guy who's like, like hurting and like
talk show dude.
Yeah, he's just a talk show dude doing like, he might be a dick, but it's not like he's killing people or like putting like people out of their houses, that kind of a thing. But the way that they built it, and they just want, as an audience member, you just want Arthur to pull that trigger. That is like crazy masterful. But another thing you mentioned, like where a lot of people were sympathizing, that's where there was a lot of controversy as well when the film came out, right? So I think it was just at the right time for this kind of a film, because back then it was like, it was Trump's America. A lot of like these incels and all that. Things were like coming out where
you got a point.
People were just like screaming at each other again, as usual, as they do.
Yeah,
the left and the right.
I vividly remember thinking that, because like there was the voiceover bit with like, what, the streets are crazy or something, and you see people basically kind of behaving like asses, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what's going on in America.
Yeah, so like like poor people like Arthur, nobody gives a fuck. Like, like what he said during that talk show scene as well. Instead of the Wall Street bankers that he shot and killed, if it were somebody like him on the pavement, like sidewalk, people won't even give a fuck. They just walk over. So it does bring a lot of like, again, I was so surprised that somebody like Todd Phillips just started like putting these kind of themes into his film. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You did The Hangover. So those themes actually hit like, pretty hard. And that's why a lot of people, if you go and look at it though, right, Metacritic's, even Rotten Tomatoes, it's still a mixed kind of a film. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's, it's definitely lower than the Batman, like, score wise, because it was
really?
like, it's divisive, like, reviews.
Oh my gosh, lower than Batman? That's kind of, maybe give it some time. Wow, yeah. 85% for the Batman on Rotten Tomatoes, and then 68% for Joker. Oh my God.
But then again, critics, they do like, mess up their, I mean, what we consider classics these days. They do
Controversial.
well, like, it did do well
Mm.
when they came out, those kind of things. Of course, there are also cult classics like Donnie Darko,
Mhm.
where critics and nobody give a fuck much, but it was like still a, kind of
It
following.
grows after.
But I do feel that, 3 years, almost 3 years now, looking back, the Joker will stand up tall amongst the rest of the superhero films in like in the
Right?
next decade or decades, if we don't all perish by nuclear war. Touch wood.
Yikes!
That
Oh
went
my
dark.
God, Adam.
That went dark a little.
Cut that out.
It's like,
We're
no,
not- no, I'm
I
kidding.
can't keep thinking about, what's happening in Europe now. I'm gonna
It
check the
is.
news later on.
Oh boy. Now it
So,
goes.
what was that? Okay, the other thing that kind of like maybe like, realize that this is special. It's a movie, like I mentioned, where initially when you watched it, you're like, oh, this is different. I like it, but I don't know how to feel about it. So with the Batman, I started thinking about it again. And I started like finding more like, oh, those kind of things. Stuff like Joker. And the other one was, I think it was Logan for me, way back. Logan
Logan.
actually works
Yeah, I
for
know.
me, where I started like thinking about it. The more I think about it, the more I started like loving it more. So, that's what happened with Joker
Right.
as well.
We can
where
still be friends.
like
Love Logan.
slowly, like, um, apart from that, what I'm trying to think of like other things to gush about, but what is there like a scene or something that didn't work for you in Joker?
In Joker? Oh, I don't know if there's anything that didn't work for me. I'm not like, I didn't watch it that many times, so I'm not
Right.
super analytical about it. Most of the times when I watch movies, I'm just along for the ride. But if there was something weird, I would probably like pick on it. Like I think with the Batman, I mean, I know there's Joker SupCast,
I
but
don't
you gotta
know.
talk about
We
Batman.
gotta talk about, yeah.
Yeah, the that whole like kind of big showdown with all the Riddler followers, and that whole part where he's like, thanks for your comments, thanks for the follows, guys. Like, you gotta love that. Yeah, but immediately after the movie with some friends, like Keyshawn, for example, they were talking about that scene where you watch him kind of dive into the flooded arena,
Yeah.
I guess,
Mhm.
with the cable that was kind of like,
Yeah, he cut
had
it, right?
sparks and
He cut
everything,
it, yeah.
and then he dives in and like you just watch, like they were saying that like there's no real climax. It's not like a
Yeah.
hard hitting like that what
Um,
if moment. He just went down, came back up, and you're like,
I'm
oh,
done.
he's all right. It's like what's going on?
I
So
like how,
that's the kind of thing that kind of doesn't really work. But Joker,
Hmm.
no, Joker didn't really have a single moment like that. I think that's part of what makes it so good.
Yeah, for me, I couldn't find like a weak spot where I just like nitpick. Maybe if I really do nitpick, I would say like they didn't really have to show the Waynes being killed, because I think that was the one
Oh,
scene where Arthur's not in the part of the scene, even though he's on the hood of the car, the blood visuals are so cool.
at the end.
It's just like, and
The
oh,
makeup.
another one that I want to talk about is after watching the for the third time, right, at the whole movie, I saw the behind the scenes and stuff, and do you know that like that scene where after he shot the guys in the train, where he first like the first transformation of
By
Joker, you start
accident,
seeing him, he
kinda.
start dancing in that toilet, right? That was not in the script, you know.
Oh,
It was not.
improvised?
So
The
it
dancing?
was complete. So this is what happened, right? I'm sure like some of you like, film nerds, you've heard of
I
this story
know,
before,
yeah.
but for those who haven't, I want to tell you the story. In the script, it was supposed to be where Arthur scared. So he ran into the bathroom, locked it. He still got the gun. So he was looking for a place to stash it. Then he opened up like like a grate or something, and like shoved it in. He washes his face, washes the blood and all that, and he goes back out. So on the day itself, uh, Todd and Joaquin were talking, and they always bounce ideas off. I heard that the script was never solid. They just like improvised because Todd came from that comedy background of like shooting the Hangover movie, so they improvise a lot, right? With Bradley Cooper and Ken Jeong and all that stuff. So Ed Helms. That day they went in and they were going through the motion because it's a small enclosed area, so not many people can go in. It was the DOP, the director, and Joaquin. And they were like, okay, he's gonna hide there. Which grade should we use? This one or top there? Where would he hide? And then they started talking about like, this is not the action of what Arthur would do. This is not this is not in his like, like it's not like he planned like murdering these guys or like he's seen it in a movie where to stash your gun kind of a thing, right? So what would he do? And then they were in there for about a couple of hours, I think. And Todd was like, tell you what, let's brainstorm like, well, what kind of movement he would do, once he's in there, trying to collect his thoughts. And I actually got one of the songs from the composer, Hilder, that she read the script and she composed it. Like, there's this song that I've been listening to that she said it's really freaking good. Let's just put it on and see where this takes us. And he played it on his phone, and Joaquin just started he started moving to it. He felt it because Arthur always had some dance and some music in him, even though he's not a trained dancer, right? So it became sort of like a very, that transformation moment and a cathartic moment for Arthur to finally accept. And these are like, fuck, we got to shoot this. And then get like, okay, we're going to start. They just planned like small things. We're going to start from your feet and then go up to you. You're going to move. And that was all improvised with there. I was like, wow. And that became like the iconic scene of, on the posters as well, where he truly became the Joker. Now, I just want to share that story because like fucking amazing.
That's awesome. I never knew that. Wow. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that is that moment, because that's the start of the Joker. Before that, he was still this guy who's just, I guess, struggling, like you mentioned. And Jesus. There was a whole thing with the dancing on the steps, the staircase.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where it's an iconic place as well. It became like this pop culture thing. People were cosplaying and doing the same thing at the same spot.
It was somewhere in was it Brooklyn? Where the residents were getting pissed off because we got these tours, these Joker, makeup and stuff.
Improvised. Wow. If there was that, I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but I think I saw somewhere there was a scene where Arthur kind of climbed into a fridge or something.
Yes.
And that was improvised too?
That was improvised as well.
That's something that's...
Everybody on set were scared because they're like, what the fuck's going on? What is Joaquin doing? He's just like, and climbs in and closes the door like, look.
In the fridge. Shit. It's strange. It's weird, but it kind of works. Like that's, you embody the character and he goes into that headspace.
They also play around with this, like the concept that this cinematic concept where it's the unreliable narrator stuff where, it's he's telling the story, but things aren't exact because you see it with Sassy Beats where he thought that he was actually killed, but that was like that scene where we're like,
yes,
oh fuck, he was just imagining it like shit. And at the beginning as well, right, where he was watching the Murray show, and then like he was standing there, which never happened.
Imagining that he's...
So it's kind of like fucked up. At the end, when at the end of the film, when he was like smoking, and then he started laughing. The therapist was like, why? And he's like, you wouldn't get it. And that was still like, oh fuck. So which parts was he like fabricating, and was he taking us as an audience for a ride as well? Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but it's so good.
It is good.
I just love it.
mentioning that just reminds me of like Mr. Robot, Rami Malek, the whole
Uh-huh.
because there are some scenes, some episodes where
Oh,
because it's all told from Rami's
right.
character. Yeah, I forgot his name. Elliot something, and he's basically someone who kind of suffers from like multiple or dissociative identity disorder,
Right.
something like that. So he kind of jumps back and forth from different perspectives, and then they do that big reveal at the end that like, oh no, this is that
It's all laid
imaginary.
out kind of thing.
Same vibe for Joker, and
Ah,
wow, it gets a little bit creepy, but also kind of
super
like
creepy.
artsy at the same time. Like, whoa.
That kind of a storytelling is like for me personally is harkens back to the 90s Usual Suspects. Have you seen it before?
Yes.
Kaiser
Send me the keys, you.
Kevin
Yeah.
Spacey, RIP his career, but you know.
All right. That was good, right? The whole line
Exactly.
with the
It was like
devil.
that was the main twist, right? But yeah, there was kind of like unreliable narrator, like
Primal
storyteller's
fear.
part. It works. So for the Joker, they said like it was just a one shot. Todd Phillips said like, the reason they put in the Wayne scene is not because of a sequel. It's just so that like you let your imagination go wild. So like what kind of a Batman would exist in this kind of a Gotham? Because it's a different kind of Gotham, right?
Right.
So if somebody else wants to tell that story, sure. Joaquin just signed on for one film as well. But because of the immense, popularity or success in a way, they're thinking about a second one. I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Oh.
It's not in development for, let me check it out. Yeah, like
Is it?
yeah, it's planned, but I'm not sure. Supposedly last May, Phillips supposedly signed on, but there's no word on it. But I did hear that Defoe wants to be part of it. I was like, hey, that would be cool. What is he gonna do? A new Joker? I don't know. But I
That would
wish
be
that
interesting.
DC would do more of these kind of like standalone, more films than like those blockbuster movies.
Right.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's the Batman that got like kind of like, even though I went in with like, very cautious optimism, extremely cautious optimism, I was let down. So maybe I'm done with the whole cinematic, like, universe. I just want
Yeah.
to see great films based on DC property. And then they're good enough to be like standalone, like, single entities. I don't know. Well, how do you feel? Well, how do you feel about
I
the
mean,
sequel?
I think I agree. It doesn't have to be a whole cinematic universe. I mean, that is something that works for Marvel, and Marvel can keep on doing that. I mean, they've got big plans, they got phases.
So many
DC,
phases.
I mean, I guess they try it a little bit, but it's not always there. And because of how, I guess, DC stories and comics and the characters are, it especially with the Batman,
The
something
best
as iconic as the
Batman, yeah.
Batman. It's meant to be dark. It's meant to be that gritty. I mean, the color grading is always kind of, like that kind of darker tones and stuff. It kind of fits that film aesthetic a little bit more, and
Yeah.
it makes sense to kind of keep it maybe more standalone. I mean, the Joker is amazing. Batman was also kind of, they did have the whole teaser at the end, I guess, kind of with the jail cell.
Barry Keoghan.
I
It's
don't know.
it's it's too soon, I feel. I don't know. We don't need that many Jokers.
Yeah.
Joker also, like, got the advantage of being an R-rated film, whereas the Batman, which is
Mm.
PG-13, I'm not sure if you noticed, they dropped their one and only F-bomb at the beginning. Where the commissioner is like, it's gonna be a fucking long Halloween or something like that. I was like, oh wow, they're using it early. Because
Oh man.
PG-13 films, you get one F-bomb. So you get
Oh,
one F-bomb. That's where the
one choice.
certifications come in. So
Use
they
it for
just
humor.
dropped it there. I was like, it could have been like, I want to see a Batman film that's really dark, like
Does
Seven
Batman
type
ever
of like.
swear?
I've seen it. Okay, so in DC, right? Last time, yeah, comics, swear that much, but they are more adult oriented, like Batman stories. And for the, I think it's like 5 years ago, less than a
Evan
decade
Conroy.
ago, DC came out with a different like label. Last time they had Vertigo, which is where you have the John Constantine Hellblazer, you have Sandman, Lucifer, those kind of more adult-oriented stuff where there's sex, there's like swearing, everything, dark shit. And DC did their new Black Label. It's like freaking whiskey, but for Black Label stories, you can tell adult oriented, so they don't sell it to kids. There's just some nudity as well. There was one big hoo-ha where I think their first series of Black Label comics called Batman Damned, they show parts of his dick, and everyone's like, "What is this? There's a bat dick."
Okay.
So what they do is like instead of telling part of the main continuity, they do these standalone kind of stories, but maybe over like 3 or 4 issues or up to like 8 issues. Stuff like Batman White Knight. There's also this one that I freaking love called Harleen, which is about Harley Quinn. It's like how she became Harley Quinn, but told in a more mature and deep and really fucking good way. It's called you look under DC Black Label, and then you see a couple of like options there. It's really good. So that one here is called Joker Killer Smile, which is under the Black Label as well. To be honest, I love the Harleen one more than this. But
is there any particular reason why?
This particular one, it's again not told from Joker's perspective, but it's more of like this one of the psychiatrists that's trying to treat him. Those kind of things. It's
right.
It's something that I've actually read, kind of like it's like Harley's story, but it's a dude with a family, kind of like how Joker basically just dealing with the Joker fucks up your mind so much that it started like creeping into your own life. So it's that kind of a story. It's dark and it's good. It's really good, but Harleen is just like such a wonderful, and the art was great as well. It's just done by one guy who wrote and drew it. So Stefan again, I can't pronounce it. Stefan Savic. He's a cool dude. He's a really cool dude. So if you have time, also like you guys listening here, if you have time, go check out these DC Black Label stories like Batman White Knight. There's a sequel, Batman Curse of the White Knight, where elements of that sequel you can actually see it in the Batman as well. If you like the Batman storyline of like the Wade's legacy and how they were involved with other stuff, Curse of the White Knight got that. It's really cool. Harleen, there's Batman Damned. There's a few more. So check out DC Black Label. And I'm sorry, we digressed a lot because we were basically talking about how Batman would actually be better off with R-rated stuff, where his villains. I would love to see a Killer Croc being done well. Also Mr. Freeze, that would be great. Because the Batman, the Riddler was perfect for this kind of a Zodiac inspired, like gory, like serial killer.
Give it the Logan treatment.
Yeah, they need more of that.
Try it, maybe. Have one that's more PG and suitable for family friendly ish kind of, and then have one just for the adults.
Actually, since they got their Battison now. To be this main, I don't know. Is he the main Batman now? Batfleck is done.
Batfleck is done.
So I actually like Batfleck. I wouldn't want him to do an R-rated like standalone Batman film, man. Maybe based on the Dark Knight Returns, where it's an older Batman and all that.
Why do you like Batfleck?
Huh?
Why do you like Batfleck?
I like Batfleck. I don't think he got like, you got an issue with Batfleck?
I mean, he's not terrible. I don't think he's bad, but I didn't find anything too impressive, I guess, because everyone just remembers the Dark Knight trilogy, Christian Bale and
Christian
stuff.
Bale, yeah.
But he's all right, but I just didn't really get a like very big impression, I guess, from Batfleck. But
Okay.
why did you like Batfleck?
For me, is Batfleck is not a young, like, Bruce.
Yeah, not young.
Batman, right? He's an
Robert
older
Pattinson's,
Batman.
yeah.
Yeah, like literally, right?
With
And
the hair.
Batfleck is basically based on the Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, where it's an older Batman that came back and kicked like Superman's ass, an older Superman's ass. So that kind of a Batman character I've always wanted to see on the big screen. And he was great in Batman versus Superman. That film, apart that Martha thing was fucked. It was the script. It's not like Ben Affleck's fault. It's the writing, right?
Yeah,
Save
yeah.
Martha.
I do like the tell me, do you bleed? With the voice thing was kind of.
He's badass. I like the fact that there was this line that was used in the trailer as well, where he was talking to Alfred, I believe, where he said like, I'm older than my dad ever was. And that was fucking profound on a lot of levels for me. Not just as, the character of Bruce Wayne or Batman, but as a human being. How do you actually fucking deal with that kind of a thought? Where, and then I can see where his character was like, coming from, where he's this bitter, angry, and just like, that
Fed up with
things that happen to men as they get much older. Because as you can see, I don't want to bring the war back, but that's what's happening with Putin.
Yikes. Oh, there we go.
He's facing his mortality, and he said, like, I'm 70 years old next year. I gotta do something like fucked up. That's all. Anyway, so Batfleck's like, Batman. He's huge. He's like big buff and very much like the costume as well as that gray, fat looking like Bat logo.
He's
based on the Dark Knight Rises. Not Rises.
The
Dark
fighting
Knight
too
Returns.
was pretty.
I mean, I've always liked Ben Affleck as an actor as well. Maybe I got a soft spot, like films like Chasing Amy and like those Kevin Smith films. He was great in there. I'm not sure if you've seen those before.
Nope.
Most people remember him as like, oh, Daredevil and those other things. I mean, he's a great director as well. He directed like Argo, which was good. He acted well in it. Gone Girl, he acted well. He's a good actor. I mean, yeah, he was in the tabloids because of the J-Lo thing and all that.
Yeah.
Give him a chance with like
cool.
watching those older movies like Chasing Amy and like more drama stuff.
Your mother's a tracer!
He worked for me. He worked as like, that older Batman. I want to see, like you mentioned, Logan, right? The Logan treatment would be perfect for Batfleck. He was severely shortchanged in Justice League, the Joss Whedon version. So I liked him better because he was like, fuck, man, he had to do those one-liners like, like something's definitely bleeding. I was like, oh my god, it was horrible. I punched Joss Whedon because of that.
Okay.
So it was a bad, like he was given a bad like rap for that. But Batman versus Superman, the director's cut, a little bit better because you see more of his like development even for Superman as well. Justice League, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, much better for him. I just wish that he would have a third outing as Batman. We get our Batfleck in could be like, again, Logan treatment would be perfect. One last battle, could even like really punch and fight Superman, not over this stupid reason. And Martha's dead and gone. They just go at it.
They actually fight each other.
Yeah, that would have been good. So yeah. So what were we talking? Oh yeah, we were talking about the R-rated treatment for Batman. That would work. Okay, I mean, I think we've been gushing about it like Joker a lot. Before we end, I just want to ask, like, okay, can you share with us like maybe your favorite scene in the film Joker that made you like, if you have to pick out the quintessential moment, like scene in the Joker that you really love, Or it could be a small one as well, like very subtle one, like, but that really stood out that you want that to be like, enshrined in the
Oh my goodness.
history of like cinematic excellence.
I'm gonna have to go on a limb. I actually can't really pinpoint a single scene right now. The whole thing really is just, it ties together. Everything's great. But if I had to talk about a favorite scene, I don't know, I might just have to go with like the one that you talked about when he starts dancing, I
The
guess.
dance, right? The dance.
Catharsis, that is
Mhm.
definitely, it's a good point. I mean, if now that I'm learning about this, that it was
It's like you like
improvised,
it
the
more.
script is different. Yeah, it actually makes it that much more brilliant, honestly. But the whole thing, because you kind of really do sympathize with this guy who just, he's not really trying, he's not out there to hurt people on purpose, at least until the thing happens and he kind of maybe like actually feels good from doing it, even though it's not like right. Isn't that the whole what was it? There's a quote from The Killing Joke, like you're just one bad day away from
Yes.
becoming me or something like that.
Yeah.
That's Joker, and that's what he wants to prove
Hmm.
with like Batman and all. Like he's sending a message with killing Murray, the talk show guy, and all that.
That scene probably is my second favorite because like I mentioned, the whole direction, acting, cinematography, music, all which is like brilliant. It's like chef's
10
kiss,
out of 10.
chef's kiss kind of a thing. That was like amazing. Third one would for me would be the talk show scene, which is like overall the intensity and like where it was building and like how Tarantino explained it as well as a subversion of like expectations. It worked. But my personal favorite is that scene where he was putting on his makeup.
Oh,
And then you have the dwarf and the big guy visits him. He was still in his like white face, shirtless pants. Fucking creepy. I got chills. And the cinematography as well, when he was, talking
so
to the guy,
uncomfortable.
he's looking up, and then face to face, the light shining on his face and the like, white face. Brilliant. And then he stabs him, blood all over his face, kind of like sitting there.
My God, Adam.
And then like, no, that is like Joker for me, where
That is true.
unpredictable, creepy, does that like super
Insane.
violent shit. And then there was like some humorous parts where the dwarf's like, oh, he's trying to scare the dwarf, right? And then he couldn't reach it. Like,
Oh, no.
the dwarf was like, he's like, oh,
You're right.
and you're thinking like, oh, is he gonna kill him, kind of a thing? And you don't know what's going on. That is like Joker for me.
That's the
fucking, like,
same feeling watching the whole scene with Heath Ledger and like want to see a magic trick, right? Because you don't expect those things. It's so it's like John Wick. It's so uncommon, and you don't really know like where's he going with this, what's going to happen next, and out of the blue, like because that is the character. He's kind of insane, and he just does stuff like that spontaneously, and it makes you feel so uncomfortable, but at the same time it's like you can't look away. You want to find out what happens next. That you're right, that is a really good scene.
That scene just like for me, so like, yeah, a lot of people was like, oh yeah, afterwards, right, we straight away cut to them in full Joker makeup going dancing and triumphant. But for me, it was like that right before that triumphant scene,
Right before
that scene, freaking cool, man. Acting, all of that, perfect. Again, like chef's kiss. I want a statue or a toy of the Joker like that, with shirtless, white paint with blood, holding that. I think he used a pair of scissors, right? They stabbed him in the neck, in the eye, and then grabbed him by the head and started like smashing me against the fucking.
Are you okay, Adam? Why are you super into this? Oh my God. I'm concerned.
Oh, I'm not scaring you. Start laughing like
No,
that.
no. Next time, yeah.
That was creepy as well. His laugh was just like,
His laugh. It's different from the like usual joke. Like
Oh,
Mark Hamill.
No, Mom did. That's different, right?
Yeah,
Another one that like little trivia that I want to mention as well. One of on the forums I read that throughout the entire film he was suffering from that laughter, right? Where he's laughing, it's just like either nervous or from that kind of that illness that he has. It's like, was it like a more? It's like
Some
a nervous
condition.
kind of a tick, right? Where he just starts laughing, where
He can't control it. Yeah.
yeah. At the end, where he's smoking and we told the therapist that you wouldn't get it right, he laughed. It's a completely different laugh.
Different.
It's like a real laugh. And I was like, whoa. Did they do that on purpose? I think Joaquin really did that on purpose. That laugh was different. So I was like, oh shit. See, there's a lot
He's
of
become
layers.
Joker.
Yeah, like different, where he's in control of it, or Joker's completely in control of Arthur Fleck now. It's a lot of small things. Dude, you gotta watch it. If you can, right? Find a Ultra HD 4K version.
It's on Netflix, but
TV.
Ultra HD.
It's
don't
not
have
on
it for
Netflix. It's not on Netflix.
That's not somewhere. It's on one of the
HBO Max.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah,
there
so
it is.
Previously, I didn't have an Ultra HD machine as well, but then I got my PS5, so I'm like, this is gonna. I have to buy the physical copy, and then I watch it. I'm like, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Like, God, dude, try that. So, you guys listening as well, please, if you have a PS5 or Ultra HD, like,
if you're so lucky to have a PS5.
Like, dude, it's like $30 on Amazon. You just like, buy it. They'll deliver it to your house. And you
PS5
watch it.
is not $30 on Amazon.
I'm talking about the Joker.
The movie, of course, I know. Not everyone's gonna have a PS5.
I'll take 5, man.
Jeez.
But I'm sure you can get like an Ultra HD player, not a PS5, but that's cheaper. Maybe about $100. Maybe, I don't know.
But it would definitely be an experience. Yeah.
Okay, so since we didn't get to do the scores, like score for Joker, what would you give it?
Do we have to? Do we even need to talk? I think it's like enough said. This entire podcast.
Enough said. I think it's the most, chef's kiss out of 10. I think for me, the most perfect DC film so far. Better than The Dark Knight, I have to say.
Most perfect.
Yeah. So
wow. Let that sink in for a bit.
Let that sink in for a bit. Oh, yeah. Better than The Dark Knight. Yes, I'll stand by it. All right. So that's it for this week's like kind of we call it like a throwback episode of SupCast.
Throwback.
I don't know. Like throwback.
That's good.
Basically just
I'm
like
learning things.
Getting shit out because not happy with the Batman as much, even though the Batman's still a very good film that you should watch it on, the big screen. And after that, after you watch it again,
watch Joker again.
Watch the Joker. Watch Joker, not the Joker. Watch Joker again on UHD 4K with like proper sound system. All right, that's it. Thank you so much once again for listening, guys, and thank you, Kentrell, Mr. I am Quack. I am Quack. Or I'm Quack. Hey, I'm Quack, right? Why? I don't know.
Hey, I'm Quack. That's the intro. Quack is just the name, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Kentrell, for joining us again on SupCast. Hope we can do more of these kind of random, episodes as well.
Yeah.
Down for it? All right.
Down. For sure. More Mickey Mouse for Joker. Anything.
Yeah. Mickey Mouse and Joker. That'll be a good combination.
Oh my God.
Because like DC actually did with like I have like these the issues where they combined Warner Brothers characters with like DC characters. So it was the Joker with Daffy Duck. It's a single issue. It
That's
was funny. It's funny.
Wait, is it a comic?
It's a comic.
What? Okay. I did not
I
know
have
that
a
was
look
a
at-
thing.
yeah, there's like a.
You just
it came
reminded
out.
me. There was it's like a internet like soundbite, like a fan did impressions of Mickey Mouse or something, and it's like someone trespassed and overheard Mickey Mouse, and Mickey is like a gangster and he's like beating up Goofy or something. I'm gonna send it to you after this, but
Okay,
yeah,
that sounds like a South Park thing or something. Yeah, you sent it to me.
something like that.
Okay, cool. All right, we got to end the episode. Thank you once again for listening. It's just Adam Todd, also known as Tuna, signing off. See you guys next time. Bye. Bye. Can you do a Joker laugh?
Oh my god. No, I
try it?
cannot. That's insane.
Sup, nerd.